We're still dealing with the same example. The example is Zach Mkhwanazi. Thanks to Eskom, we are now on load shedding time. Won't be too critical. I think Eskom have been doing a good job. Certainly look forward to extra electricity capacity in our country. Just looking at these rules for debits and credits and which account to debit and which account to credit. So the elements that we found in the financial information are assets, equity and liabilities. There are no liabilities in this example. So there are different types of assets. In our example, we've got furniture and bank. And there's components within equity as well. So for example, we've got capital. We may have retained profit. We could have sale of goods or sales from services rendered, and various expenses such as rent, electricity and salaries. So each of these types of expenses will be categorized as expenses and will have their own account in the general ledger. So the first thing is to say, well, what bank, for example, is it an asset? Is it a liability? It could be a liability if we owe the bank. Once we know whether it's an asset or whether it's a liability, we then just have to apply the rules. And the rules are as follows. Assets have got debit balances. Equity and liabilities have got credit balances. So if assets have got debit balances, then you would credit it to decrease it. And it's equally true that equity and liabilities normally have credit balances too, so to reduce that balance you would debit it. Remember what we were saying when we were dealing with the accounting equation, that everything must balance. The equation must stay in balance. Whatever you do on the left side, you must do on the right side. So let's have a look at this first transaction. It was transferred furniture to the business, and it was a contribution from the owner. So the furniture is the asset. To increase an asset, you must debit it. So I'm going to put furniture there. In the account credit, it's going to be capital Y, because capital is an equity balance. To increase an equity balance, you must credit it. Bank, 100,000 Rand, increase an asset with a debit. While we're on that, the next two are decreases on the bank. The one was for the lights and rent, and the other one was for salaries. So if we are increasing an asset with a debit, then we must decrease it with a credit. So I'm just going ahead a little bit. So back to this one, the transaction B, the bank went up by 100,000. My income, services rendered, increased. It increased equity. To increase equity, you must credit it. And likewise, expenses decrease equity, so you will debit them, because equity normally has a credit balance. Expenses decrease equity. I am going to debit rent with, don't have the numbers right with me, 28,000, and electricity, thank you Eskom, 12,000, and then salaries. These are all expense accounts. Now that you've got the rules for debiting and crediting the accounts, you can now go on and put these transactions into the ledger and balance off the accounts, produce the trial balance, produce the financial statements. Enjoy yourself.